when you achieve rung 2, you've solved your problem.
Yeah.
You are no longer living paycheck to paycheck. You can get there in 2 to 3 months.
Yeah.
I triple dog dare you. Well, welcome to the Money Tip Podcast presented by Fully Funded Life. My name is Joseph Sengel, when I'm in trouble. Joe Sengel when I'm not. And I'm here with my co-host, Megan Hibbard. Are you fired up on this Monday? It's the Money Tip Podcast episode. It's kind of a round number.
340.
340. I hope everybody's having a great start to the new year. And today we're going to talk about something that 70% of Americans deal with.
Yep. So today we're talking about the real cost of living paycheck to paycheck.
So I'm going to create an acronym with letters and a number. The same letter twice and a number between it. P2P, paycheck to paycheck. Now, a lot of people call that peer-to-peer or something like that, but I'm just going to steal that.
We're adopting it.
There is a real cost of living paycheck to paycheck. So if you're one of those 70%, more than 70% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck.
That's wild.
7 out of 10.
That's a big number.
It's a ginormous number. And so there's a good chance that people listening to this podcast have at one time in their life lived paycheck to paycheck or living paycheck to paycheck right now. In fact, I saw a TikTok trend that is showing up right now, and it's people telling their spouse that they're not going to have enough money to pay the mortgage payment this month.
They're just pretending.
But the key is they don't pay it anyhow. Like, they don't produce income. It's a lot of stay-at-home moms. And they just film their husbands telling them that they don't have enough money to pay the mortgage payment this month. And their spouse is so confused because they're like, you don't ever pay that payment. Like how would you pay that payment? And I think it's hilarious. But anyhow, we're talking about the real paycheck to paycheck. And it's no laughing matter. Here's what I've discovered. When people are living paycheck to paycheck, they may make jokes about it, but it's like, like, they finish that way. But people that have gotten out of living that way and they've been able to progress up the ladder to their fully funded life, they kind of laugh about how they used to live. And I think part of it is because they're so glad they're not there anymore.
Yeah.
So we want to help people understand the real cost of it in just one more attempt to help people find a better way, which we believe Fully Funded Life can help you with a better way.
Yep.
But what does it mean? Define living paycheck to paycheck. What does that mean?
Yeah. So there's no financial cushion. There's no margin, anything like that. Completely reliant upon the next paycheck to cover immediate financial needs.
So there's no financial cushion. So what is a cushion?
Something comfy.
Something comfy.
We're sitting on a cushion.
Yep, we're sitting on a cushion on these chairs. I see some sound absorbing foam behind the camera here that we use in a kind of a recording setting sometimes. It's a cushion.
This is a lot more comfortable than that wooden chair.
I recently was involved in an incident that I was telling you before we were on the podcast where I was building a playhouse and Hurricane Helene came through and had weakened it, and it was up in the air, and it kind of fell with me in it.
There was no cushion.
It was special, and there was no cushion.
The ground was.
I took a solid punch upside the chin, and listen, that is a good analysis of what it's like to live financially paycheck to paycheck.
Because you were
like
on the
anytime
ladder.
Anything happens, bam, right upside. There's no cushion. Yeah. And you're completely reliant on the next paycheck. So we're going to explore the true financial, emotional, and opportunity cost of paycheck to paycheck lifestyle, that P2P, and more importantly, how to escape it. So we're going to escape.
Yeah. I am curious, this would be another episode, but how that 70% of Americans living paycheck to paycheck compares to other countries.
Coming up, episode number.
I'm just curious.
To be determined.
Yeah.
Okay. So our producer is going to look that up while we go into the financial cost of living paycheck to paycheck.
So helpful
P2P.
to have one of those.
Yeah.
Producers.
Yeah.
All right. So
what's one of the financial costs?
So no savings for emergencies. So it can lead to reliance on credit cards or loans. You're having
even worse, like payday loans.
Yeah.
Gross.
Yikes.
High interest. So that leads to the second one, which is high interest debt cycle, where you're paying enormous interest on emergencies And what does that do? That increases your expenses even more.
Because emergencies just happen. They
So
don't
it
tell you.
becomes a death spiral of finances.
Yeah.
And if that stays that way too long, people just give up and they just live for the minute. They're like, well, I'll always be broke. And I know people that are living paycheck to paycheck by the way they say things.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, of course, it has another major financial cost.
Yeah, so credit score impact. So it drives up the cost of credit, insurance premiums, and even security clearance.
Yeah, for all of our military, they can lose their security clearances. Crazy.
The town that we live in, we're near military, so there's a lot of military people, and it's wild.
Yeah. It's amazing how a bunch of pawn shops are just outside the base. Terrible.
Oh.
Just absolutely predatory lending on our young military servicemen and women. And then, of course, you miss out on investment opportunities. You have no ability to grow your wealth or grow money over time when you're spending all the money paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah.
And that has enormous toll on people.
Yeah, there's also emotional and psychological toll as well. So it could also...
Are we really going to talk about this?
We are.
I don't know if I can mentally handle it.
I can
No, wait.
I can do it for you.
But it does have an emotional and anger
Yeah, it's a lot of...
and humiliation. I'm so ashamed. Right? All these powerful human emotions. Tell them about it.
Yep. So the first one is chronic stress. So you're constantly worried about unexpected expenses or maybe a job loss. So an example could be the car makes a weird sound. An appliance starts to fail and immediately creates stress because you're like, oh no, I'm going to have to pay for this thing.
Yeah.
And they also say they usually happen in threes.
Yeah. Well, I was driving my old Honda CRV, just to drive it around a little bit.
Yeah.
And it's kind of been retired. We're waiting for our son to get his license, and hopefully he'll be able to drive that car.
That's
It's got 320-some thousand miles on it, I think. It was my company vehicles where I drove to all these FLEs and just burned up the roads.
Got some spray
until I
paint on the
retired it.
side.
Yeah, until 2022, I retired it. So I had it for 11 years, and I was driving it, and the light came on.
What light?
It's just the engine light. It wasn't flashing.
Just the engine.
Just the engine light.
That's
And I was
never
like,
a joke.
ooh, that's interesting. But if you're broke, it's like, ooh, and then another light turned on. The TPMS light.
Oh, I hate that light.
The tire pressure monitoring system. I remember the first time that came on, I got out and looked at all the tires. They look good to me. I don't know. And so usually it means the battery's going bad on one or something. But it was also very cold. It's like 21 degrees.
That'll do it.
And then a third light came on, which was low fuel. And so I filled up the fuel, and then the engine light went out. And the TPMS light went out because it warmed up. And I was like,
Ching.
they went away. But that constant worry, that constant chronic stress, it has to have health consequences. It definitely has life enjoyment consequences.
Yeah.
And we want you to live a fully funded life. So for our listeners, we want you to reduce stress. And stress is what? Pressure that is negative.
Yeah.
And
But when you have this chronic stress, it also, I feel like, leads to the next one of like reduced decision-making ability. I feel like when I'm stressed, there's a whole psychological thing behind it. Your cortisol levels go up. It's crazy. Like what actually does.
What goes up?
Your cortisol level. I think
That's a thing?
Oh, yeah. You should.
I've heard that mentioned a couple times
wild.
recently.
So like exercise can help get that out, which is one of the good ways. That's why we're trying to start exercising.
I ran a
Stress
Christmas
levels
5K and ran in a Buddy the Elf outfit. My daughter was so proud.
Was she?
My 11-year-old.
She's not to the embarrassing
No,
part.
she's all about Christmas.
I love
so
that.
she's like, look, this is what Dad does. He wears the Buddy the Elf outfit. But listen, reduced decision-making ability happens, and it can lead to impulsive spending. And you're like, why does it matter to even try anymore?
Yeah.
So let's just do it. And then it causes strain on relationships.
Yeah. It's, overall hard.
Hey, listen,
all around.
it's a leading cause of tension in relationships, marriage relationships, families. And let's just list the relationships that this money stress can exact a toll on. The marriage relationship, the parent-child relationship. It can cause parents to become short-tempered with their children. The employer-employee relationship, terrible.
Yep.
And so there's opportunity costs. So I love it's an economic statement, this opportunity cost, which is the next best alternative use of money. So let's talk about, hey, when you have no money and you constantly live with no money, you spend all the money that comes in, you even maybe acquire more debt every month. What does it rob you of the ability to do?
Yep. So the inability to invest. So you're missing out on education, maybe home ownership, starting a business, or investing in a retirement account.
Yeah. So you don't invest. And therefore, your child turns 17, enters that senior year of high school, and you just invited more stress. Oh, my goodness, my kid is really gifted academically, and they want to go to college, but we have no money to help them.
Yeah.
And it's just, and then you end up, 45, 50 years old, 55 years old. You've always wanted to own a house. You still don't own a house. And you've robbed yourself of one of the great wealth building tools, which is home ownership.
Yep.
You can't start a business maybe you desire to start. So when I just list those things, that alone should be motivation to say, I don't care what it takes. You're punching your hand like that. Do you hear that? If you're listening, I am changing my financial behavior. So we're going to help with that. Yeah. But it also causes limited career flexibility. I just recently had a conversation with somebody who is in a dead-end job. They despise their work. They're making far less than they feel like they should be making. I don't know if that's true, but they feel that. And they can't even afford to even think about going and finding another job because they feel like their employer has retribution. If they find out you're interviewing somewhere else, they'll just cut you. And they can't even imagine missing one paycheck because they're so strapped financially. Terrible.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there's a lack of something that's really neat. It's a neat phrase that I saw, so we included it.
Yeah. So lack of joyful spending.
Joyful spending.
You don't usually hear those words together.
Joyful spending.
Yeah.
It is fun to spend money on cool things.
It is. Not on
garbage stuff like a payday loan.
Yeah.
Hey, by the way, our producer says he's got stats on other countries and how many people live paycheck to paycheck
spell
there.
Paycheck funny.
So this is Canadian-ish. 47% of them in Canada, a Legger poll conducted in the fall of 2023. Maybe we can pull this screen up, show people they're living paycheck to paycheck, and they're living fancy paycheck to paycheck with a QUE. It's a staggering number that will likely grow.
Yeah, given the rising cost of just about everything.
Isn't that amazing? And now let's look elsewhere. A third of UK workers are living paycheck to paycheck.
Okay.
So 1/3 are living month to month without any spare cash for emergencies or shocks. I like that.
What are shocks?
Like, how economic shock?
With a quarter struggling financially.
According to WTW's What the World's Financial Wellbeing Study. Okay, and then it's saying that it has not altered significantly since before COVID-19.
I would have not guessed that.
So anyhow, it sounds like the U.S. is much worse.
Yeah.
And because we're a complete consumer nation. Come on, USA.
Come on.
I guess we lead the way in everything, so let's lead the way in spending.
Yeah.
So let's give some people some practical tips to break free of the cycle because you can't prosper while you're in it.
Yeah. Okay, so some steps are, obtain a roadmap. So we happen to have a roadmap. It's called the Fully Funded Life Ladder.
Yeah, and that we'll provide a link where you can download it at fullyfunded.life, and you can download a copy of the Fully Funded Life Ladder, and it helps put your decision making in order. Hey, when do I focus on debt payment? When do I focus on retirement savings and investing? When do I focus on saving money?
Yeah.
When do I focus on funding a dream? Let's go. And that's really huge. And so we really want to be able to do that. And the second thing is start with your why. That's rung number one of the ladder. Now, that's really key, knowing your why, because it helps you stick to good decisions and stick with that roadmap to climb out of living paycheck to paycheck.
Yep. And you should really write that somewhere visible so that you can remember it.
Yeah.
But also learn about your financial behavior. So maybe track all of your spending to identify areas for change. And then we also have foundational elements.
Yeah, when you learn about your financial behavior, that financial behavior becomes foundational to your climb up the ladder. If you are an impulsive spender, that's going to make your ladder climb wobbly.
Yeah.
As soon as you get up a couple rungs, you're going to fall off. So you need to track your spending and evaluate, hey, how can I change? Because whatever you've been doing has led to what you've got. And the definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting a different result. So there's something going on. Change that financial behavior. So one great way to understand your behavior is to track it. Also to meet with a coach. And that's why Fully Funded Life offers coaching, because that third person, that third party, it helps you evaluate that.
And they help you see areas that you don't see because you're blinded by them. But they also can help you. This next step is prepare a realistic budget. So a lot of times you're preparing a budget, but it might not be realistic, or it can't last because you're only giving.
Let's be honest. Most people living
or-
paycheck to paycheck don't have a budget.
Yeah.
And so you need to prepare one and make sure it's realistic. Don't lie to yourself when you prepare it.
Yeah. We have lots of episodes on.
Many people get thoroughly frustrated with living paycheck to paycheck. So they say, that's it. We're going on a budget. And then they lie. They proceed to lie. We're not going out to eat ever for the rest of our life. The kids need no clothes ever. And they just lie to themselves. Don't lie to yourselves. Prepare a realistic budget.
Yeah.
You will not solve this overnight. You didn't get into it overnight. You can fix this. A realistic budget will help you visually see areas for improvement.
Yeah.
And of course, in that budget, prioritize your emergency fund.
Rung number 2, the ladder. So making sure that you have some money to cover some expenses, but also begin with small, consistent contributions. I mean, like you said, it didn't happen overnight and it's not going to be fixed overnight. So start small, but be consistent, be disciplined about it. That's the way that you're going to make progress.
Yeah. And that's really huge, because that allows you, by that consistency is going to allow you to build a good habit.
Yeah.
And making it automatic is huge. And then let's say you get a tax refund, you'll be able to take and do big steps. So what I found is, if you do really good small steps, eventually you'll be able to take a big step. But if you don't take the small steps of building savings, then by the time you get a thing like a tax refund or a bonus from work, it's already pledged away to 21 different places.
Right.
So do that. And then when you achieve rung 2.
Did you write this word?
No. I did, but I'm not going to share it yet. Because I want to say this. When you achieve rung 2, you've solved your problem.
Yeah.
You are no longer living paycheck to paycheck.
It's huge. It's rung 2. I mean,
you can get there.
9 rungs.
You can get there in 2 to 3 months.
Yeah.
I triple dog dare you. Now, some of you are like, I've lived this way for 20 years. I can't do that in 2 or 3 months. You would be amazed at what you could do with a realistic budget and a commitment. I'm telling you, can transform your life. And I want you to be able to do it, because it will open your eyes to see a lot of other things, and it will be able to do this amazing thing. I've called in my Western rancher world. What can you do?
You can lasso the power of compound interest through investing.
Woo!
How many times a day do you use the word lasso?
I've got the lasso out. Woo! Cool. Look, I've lassoed him. I caught him. Run down, tie him up. Going. Look at that. I just did it. Do you know what I just did? That
I do.
I just roped the calf, got his legs, boom, put the brakes on the horse, jumped off, ran down, grabbed his leg, tied him up. Boom. Do you know what? Hey, I'm going to go off the rails here for a second, because it's story time with Joe. I was driving that little Honda that I'm talking about one day. No joke. I'm driving down the road, long road, here in Anderson, going down a long road, and I see two farmers out trying to chase a calf. He's a little gray calf. He's in the field. He's gotten out. He's a smaller calf. He's not a giant calf. He's a month old, maybe. This isn't a 3/4 grown steer. And this one guy's really old. He can't keep up with this calf. The other guy's massively overweight. He also cannot keep up with it.
So
and I'm looking at
it. Or
it.
they're on horses?
They're running after it. So listen, I pulled over. My 2 kids are in the car, 2 younger ones. And this is like 2 years ago. And I pulled the car over and I said, watch this, kids. I'm going to go show you what's up. And man, I'm not as good as I once was, but I was as good as once as I ever was. I come steaming out in the field and I caught that calf. I kid you not. And I picked that calf up and body slammed him down. I'm not kidding. I'm like, where's a rope? And the guy had a rope. He caught up to me, and I threw up my hands just like I was at a rodeo.
Have you done that before?
I had never done that in my life. And I picked up the calf on my shoulder, and they drove over a truck, and I threw it in the truck.
Gently.
Yeah, gently for a calf.
Okay.
And I went and got in the car, and I was like, oh, the kids were going to be high-fiving me. I got in there, and both of them were on their devices the whole time. Never saw me do it. Terrible. But I can tell you, I did it.
Where's your camera?
I thought they'd be filming the thing. It was unbelievable. He's mouse gray, a beautiful calf.
They're like, Dad just got out of the car again. Oh, well.
It was a little
Wait.
bull calf. It was a bull calf.
That really happened?
That really happened. No joke.
You know how some preachers, they stories they start telling just kind of elaborate as
No, that really happened.
tell it.
I'm serious. I'd never done that in my life. I mean, I've raised calves before, but I've never done that. It was awesome. And you know, that old guy never even said thank you. Never even said thank you. Rude. But you got to lasso the power of compound interest through investing. Rung number 3. So that allows you, when you have savings, you can open your eyes. We always say, as you climb up the ladder, you can see farther.
Yeah.
And you can jump on opportunities and jump on calves and everything else. But compound interest is the thing that'll help you build wealth. And it'll allow you to go on up to rung 4, which is to pay down your debt. But here's the thing. To break the cycle of paycheck to paycheck living, you got to automate your giving, saving, and investing. You've got to treat those things as non-negotiables. I mean, for real, you've got to say, I have to deny myself to be able to give, save, and invest.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, when I first made the commitment to give, save, and invest, I had to say no to myself. It's a word called sacrifice. But do you know why most people will not automate giving, saving, and investing?
They're afraid they're going to overdraft.
That's right. They have no savings.
Yeah.
And so the moment you get savings in place, you can automate.
Yeah.
And immediately you will feel your financial pressure reduce. Immediately financial anxiety will go away.
Yeah.
Isn't that a worthwhile investment? Get fired up. I'm fired up today. We're helping people.
Yeah.
And sharing stories.
Also, you can adopt some frugal habits. The word frugal is always a funny word.
Frugal's fun.
But to reduce discretionary spending without sacrificing the quality of life.
Here's the thing. Everybody has frugal in them. Let me prove it to you, podcast listener. Do you love a deal?
I love
We all love a deal. That's frugality.
Yeah.
We love to say how we went and got this thing that was worth this much and we got it for this much. Frugality. And by the way, frugality is cool because it frees up money. Listen, when you go to the discount grocery store like Lidl or Aldi,
Love Aldi.
listen, you save that money because you got to have food. But if you can feed your family well for this much versus this much, that frugality allows you to take the extra, put it towards savings, put it towards investments, be able to be generous.
Yeah.
The adopting of frugal habits. Well, you know, Jesus said it when he multiplied all the fish and loaves. And do you remember when it was all over? Not only had he fed everybody as much as they wanted,
There's leftover.
12 baskets were left over. And Jesus gave instructions. My dad always points it out. He says, let nothing be wasted. And I think that's his excuse for being a hoarder. Somewhat of a hoarder. He does sell. He can break up with stuff too. So he's what I would call a picker. He can buy, but he also sells.
That's sweet.
But he seems to collect more than he sells. So he always says, let nothing be wasted, and I could use that sometime. So listen, we would love to hear from you guys. If you have broken free from the paycheck to paycheck lifestyle, share your story with everybody in the comments. What helped you break free? What inspired you? Who knows, somebody could read that, and that can be the catalytic moment that would help them break free themselves.
Yeah. Or if you're trying to break free and you need maybe a little bit of more help, join Fully Funded Life, where we have courses that can help you. We have challenges where we can really focus on, maybe you need help not spending money. So maybe you're joining our spending challenge, or you need help saving money, or our budgeting challenge. or we have courses galore, or maybe you just need to meet with a coach one-on-one who can look through your budget, look through all the areas of your personal finance, see where the blind spots are, see where they can help improve.
A real live human.
Yeah, and it can help you. It's amazing.
Accountability without judgment.
Yeah.
Somebody that meets you where you're at and has the skills and the abilities to help you get where you want to be.
Yep.
And that's all included in a really reasonably priced membership. I mean, go find out how much financial coaching would cost you. This has unlimited 30-minute Zoom coaching appointments. So you can jump on a time, you can find it. Check it out, fullyfunded.life. We would love to have you as part of our community. In the meantime, hey, thanks for sticking with us. It's an extended version. But listen, this thing, with 70% of people living this way,
it's huge.
It was worth the time. Thanks for joining us, and have a great week, everybody. Get fired up and live life fully funded.
Thanks for watching. Hey, if you've gotten value from this, and I believe you have, click that subscribe button, click that thumbs up, leave a comment, share it with somebody. We want to make sure that this community grows so that we can all together live fully funded lives. Thanks for being a part of our family.